The story begins with a man named Nicky sitting inside a restaurant. There's also a girl there. Her name is Jess. Running away from another man, she suddenly sits down at Nicky's table and says, "Can you be my boyfriend for just 5 minutes? My life is in danger." Nicky agrees. And while the two of them are talking, Jess starts seducing him. She then takes him to a hotel room. As the two get intimate, suddenly a man shows up with a gun, pointing it straight at Nicky. He looks furious. Jess tells Nicky, "That's my psycho husband. You need to get out of here." But Nicky says, "I'm not leaving. I'm really sick anyway. I want him to kill me." At that moment, Jess realizes Nicky has figured out her plan. So she turns to her partner and says, "We don't need him anymore. He already knows we were trying to rob him." Because the truth is, this is what Jess and her partner do. They trap people and rob them. But this time, Nicky was already ahead of their plan. Before leaving, Nicky tells Jess, "Never lose your focus. I'm not sick at all." And with that, he walks away. A moment later, Jess shows up again. Nicky looks at her and invites her out for a drink. The two head to a bar where they spend time talking. It's here that Jess realizes Nicky isn't just an ordinary man. He's also a master thief, operating at a far higher level than her. In the middle of their conversation, Nicky casually and skillfully steals several of Jess's belongings without her noticing, leaving her both shocked and impressed. Intrigued, Jess admits that she wants to join his crew. But Nicky doesn't just accept anyone. His team is built only with experts. He tells her she'll have to pass a test first. Nicky then introduces Jess to his team, and together they head into a crowded area. Working with precision and coordination, the crew, and now Jess, pull off a series of slick thefts, stealing valuables without anyone realizing. By the end of it, Jess has proven herself and is officially part of Nicky's team. Later that night, as the group sorts through their stolen goods, Jess notices a necklace she instantly falls in love with. She asks to keep it, but Nicky refuses, telling her, "We never hold on to stolen items for ourselves." Despite his strictness, Jess finds herself increasingly drawn to him. Nicky, on his part, even provides her with an apartment to stay in, something that makes Jess genuinely happy. That night, Jess goes to Nicky's room, and the two of them grow very close. The next day, Jess heads to a restaurant with one of Nicky's men. The place is filled with wealthy people. Suddenly, Nicky's man clutches his chest as if he's in severe pain. In reality, he's only pretending to be sick. While everyone rushes to look at him, Jess and the rest of Nicky's crew quietly slip through the crowd, stealing expensive items from the rich guests. Afterward, the team sells everything they've stolen, pulling in millions of dollars. Nicky then gathers his crew and tells them, "Go home. I'll make sure your cut reaches you. But from now on, we'll never meet in this apartment again. Wipe off every trace of your fingerprints before you leave." As they pack up, one of Nicky's partners warns him, "Don't gamble this money away." Nicky, who is known for his gambling habit, brushes it off, saying, "Don't worry." Then, one by one, the team leaves. Later, Nicky takes the bag of cash and goes with Jess to watch a rugby match. Jess quickly grows bored, so Nicky decides to entertain her with a little bet. He points to a girl walking up the stairs and says, "At least 8 people will turn their heads to look at her." Jess laughs and replies, "No, maybe 5 or 6 at most." The two place a wager on it. Sitting nearby, a businessman overhears them and says, "I'm in on this bet too." The bet begins. Jess guesses that only 3 people will turn a look at the girl, but when she walks up the steps, 5 people glance at her, making Jess the winner. Excited, the businessman sitting nearby wants to keep betting. Nicky puts down $500, but the businessman wins. Nicky tries to step back, no longer interested, yet the businessman provokes him. Frustrated, Nicky agrees to another wager, this time for $5,000. Once again, the businessman wins. Pushing further, the businessman suggests another bet. A player on the field is about to make a pass, and he asks Nicky whether the play will be successful. Nicky confidently says yes, even though Jess begs him not to gamble anymore. But when the player fails the pass, Nicky loses yet again. His anger builds. He raises the stakes, proposing a $50,000 bet. The businessman accepts, and Nicky loses once more. Now furious, Nicky declares he'll wager $100,000. Jess pleads with him to walk away, but Nicky's pride won't let him stop. The businessman questions whether Nicky even has that much money. To prove himself, Nicky slams down the cash. The bet is placed. Will the player make a clean pass? Nicky answers no, but the player delivers a perfect pass, and Nicky loses again. By now, Nicky has lost nearly $500,000 in just moments. Desperate to recover, he proposes an even bigger gamble, one worth $1 million. They move into a private room, where the businessman pulls a card from a deck. It's a 5. If Nicky wants a win, he must draw a card higher than that. Confident, Nicky believes it's almost impossible to lose. But when he flips his card, it's a 3. Nicky is crushed. He's lost again. Jess is left in shock, horrified that Nicky's addiction to gambling has cost not only him, but the entire crew millions of dollars that weren't his alone. As they leave, the businessman taunts Nicky one last time, daring him to make another bet. Nicky's pride won't allow him to walk away. Determined to win back both his money and his dignity, he prepares to face the businessman once more. Nicky looks at the businessman and says, "How about we make it 20 million?" The businessman agrees. Nicky then explains the bet. You pick any player on the field and look at his jersey number through your binoculars. I'll tell you exactly what that number is. If I'm right, I win 20 million. If I'm wrong, you win. Suspicious, the businessman hesitates. So Nicky adds, "Fine, I won't guess the number. Jess will." Jess freezes, confused. Out of so many jerseys, how could she possibly pick the right one? It feels impossible. She tries to stop Nicky, but he won't listen. All he tells her is, "Choose the number that feels familiar to you." The businessman picks a player and peers through his binoculars. Then he hands them to Jess. Nervously, she scans the field, when suddenly, her eyes land on a face she knows. It's someone she recognizes, wearing jersey number 55. Nicky's words echo in her mind. "Say the number that feels like yours." Jess blurts out 55. The businessman goes pale. That was exactly the number he had chosen. Nicky wins the bet. In one move, he not only recovers all the money he lost, but also walks away with millions in profit. Later, as Nicky and Jess drive away with the cash, Nicky reveals the truth. It was all part of the plan, he tells her. "We knew that businessman was addicted to gambling. That's why I kept losing at first. On purpose. Actually, when the businessman was arriving at the match, our team deliberately placed the number 55 in front of him. Even the car he was sitting in was playing a song with a number 55 was repeated again and again. We wanted to feed the number 55 into his mind, and we succeeded. The player whose jersey you saw, we had also deliberately shown that player's photo to the businessman. He saw number 55. I had already given you the hint, and that's how we won the bet." Jess is now very impressed with Nicky. Before leaving, Nicky gives her $80,000 and says, "From today, our paths are separate." Their team has now broken apart. But hearing this makes Jess very sad, because she has fallen in love with Nicky. But Nicky doesn't feel the same. For him, it was only teamwork. 3 years pass. We see Nicky again. It looks like his money is gone. Nicky comes to meet a motorsport owner named Garriga. Garriga tells him, "We've created a fuel algorithm for our motorbikes and motor cars that has greatly increased their speed. Everyone wants to get it. All you have to do is sell a faulty version of this fuel algorithm to our rivals." Garriga already has a plan for this. He hires Nicky as an engineer in his company. And now, at a party, Nicky only has to show that he and Garriga had a terrible fight. After that, the rival team will surely contact him and try to get the algorithm. For Nicky, the job is very simple. He agrees. He arrives at the party, ready to fight with Garriga. But then, he sees Jess there, who is now Garriga's girlfriend. For the past 3 years, Nicky and Jess haven't seen each other. Jess walks up to Nicky and says, "Garriga doesn't know anything about my past. So please, don't tell him." But deep down, Nicky feels jealous. Out of jealousy and anger, he goes to Garriga and actually start a fight with him, which is also part of their plan. Everyone around watches, including owners from rival companies. Nicky is thrown out of the party, and the next day, he meets with the owner of another company. Nicky tells him, I can give you that formula, but you'll have to pay me $3 million. The company owner agrees, because for that formula, it's a small price to pay. Nicky walks away. Meanwhile, Jess is shown meeting one of Nicky's men. He tells her, 3 years ago, when Nicky left your life, it was necessary. Even today, he still cares about you. Then he hands her a box and leaves. When Jess opens the box, inside is the same necklace she had wanted 3 years ago. Nicky had once told her they never keep stolen goods. Seeing the necklace makes her happy. She puts it around her neck because somewhere deep inside, she still loves Nicky. The next day, Nicky is seen going to the rival company's owner and handing over the formula in exchange for $3 million. But Nicky doesn't stop there. He goes to other company owners as well, selling the formula to each of them and making a huge profit. If he had worked only for Garriga, he would have earned just $1 million, which never interested him. Now, with all the money in hand, he wants to run away with Jess. He sends her a message, but she doesn't come for a long time. Just as Nicky is about to leave, Jess finally arrives. The two drive off together, but Garriga's men ram their car, forcing them off the road. Both Nicky and Jess are captured. Along with them, all the money Nicky had taken from the other companies is also seized. Garriga looks at Nicky and says, you shouldn't have done this. Actually, Nicky had somehow managed to get hold of Garriga's real software, and he sold that software to everyone. Garriga asks Nicky, how did you do this? Nicky doesn't say anything, but when Garriga tortures Jess, Nicky finally reveals, this was part of my plan. The necklace I gave Jess had a special chip inside it. She knew nothing about it. Through that chip, I stole your passwords and all your data. But Jess had no role in this. Nicky didn't want to frame her. Jess then admits that she was only with Garriga to steal his expensive watches. She never loved him, something Garriga already knew. But Nicky destroyed Garriga's $40 million software because now that everyone has it, it has no value. The tension rises, and Garriga's head of security pulls out his gun and shoots Nicky. Garriga panics and yells, what have you done? We could have made more money. But if the police find out, we'll all end up in jail. He fires the head of security on the spot and leaves with his men. After Garriga and his people leave, the truth is revealed. The man who shot Nicky, the head of security, is actually his father. Years ago, he had adopted Nicky and taught him everything. He had deliberately shot Nicky near the heart so Garriga would think he was dead, but he would actually survive. Nicky's life is saved, and now the three of them escape together with all the money. On the way, the security head stops the car, takes all the money, and leaves Nicky and Jess behind. Nicky ends up with nothing, but Jess is still with him, and he loves her deeply. The two of them reach the hospital, and there Nicky notices Jess's wrist. On it is Garriga's expensive watch. At least they didn't leave empty-handed. And with that, the film comes to an end.